Yes, hello, I'm Daniel Stillwell. I'm the editor of the IFTA e-newsletter, and today we have with us at the conference live, we've got Reinhold, Jonathan, and Benjamin. What are you doctors? Where do you live? Tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Well, we live in Denmark. We work as a social psychiatry center. I'm a head of the center, and we work with clients, different group of clients having problems with fighting with schizophrenia, fighting with anxiety, drug addicts,
homeless people, veterans.
We work with adults, adolescents, and youngsters down to the age of 13. Professionally, I'm originally a social worker with a master degree in public management, so I do management, educated in systemic therapy by Carl Tombit and Shikin.
Okay.
And I am an educated psychologist and work mostly in the field of drug and alcohol addiction. So spend most of my time there, and the rest of my time being what's called deputy chairman of the National Organization for Creative Development of Youth and Children. So those are the two legs that I think I stand on.
You run with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And, my name is Benjamin, and I'm a clinical psychologist as well. I work mostly with younger people, and it's a really broad population. It's in no way a homogeneous group. So, but what I mainly do is brief therapeutic interventions, and I also do group therapy setups with my colleagues.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, because people who watch this are all over the world, it's
yeah.
nice to know what people do in different places.
Yeah.
So thank you. Well, you are here at the conference. You have a presentation. What are you presenting on?
Yeah, we are asking ourselves a question, and would like to do a workshop with asking a question. What would happen if we told our clients to show up forever? Because we worked on doing brief therapy and doing very brief things, so the client gets out of our business quite fast. Just realizing that the society is the way, this is an empty society with echo chambers. So where do you leave the clients? And we find out that sometimes we shouldn't just leave them, we just should keep them. And that doesn't sound very efficient, but it is actually quite cheap. And that's where we're trying to find out.
Yeah. In a Danish context, most of the help work is very defined in different lengths, and then you do the course and then you leave out, and then you're supposed to reintegrate into some sort of society. But we have seen that participation in a lot of civil society has dwindled over the last 20 years very significantly. So what is it really we are getting people back into when we leave them in therapy?
Yes.
So we're thinking, okay, but is there something, if we go with the assumption that people need somewhere to go afterwards, a community to be a part of, and it's not out there, then isn't it in some way our responsibility to make sure it is present? And that's the thoughts we had when we made this this workshop. How can we?
Yeah. How can we help build communities for people to thrive in? You know? Because therapy in Denmark is a very individualized matter.
Yes.
It's a very lonesome matter, to be honest. So we see a need for helping structure and build some communities and some spaces for people to come together and help each other make sense of their lives. And
And then how it is when we try to mix this otherwise usually volunteer work with how do we mix that with professional support for it and marry the two concepts some way or the other.
Yes, the original therapy was very long, very intensive, Freudian, all that type of stuff, and then it gotten shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and it probably does help a lot of people, but you're right, you're finding that it doesn't help everybody, so how can we adjust?
Right. Yeah, actually we work from a collaborative systemic point of view, like Harlene Andersen stuff like that. Well, the treatment works. We can do it very brief, but what then? What is alive after treatment? And if we look on the client groups we see in society, there are more and more people having anxiety problems. The society is more and more individualized on my problems, on my individual psychology psychological problems. It's not the society's wrong, it's me that's wrong. So we can keep on treating people for what's wrong in society. So actually we're looking on beyond therapy, getting a bit more involved in community thoughts. In a Danish context where the services is public, the state is, or the municipalities providing services, there in a Scandinavian context to go out and make communities, self-helping communities, with very close engagement to the public service. That is, I don't know if it's new, it's maybe quite old actually, but it's after the new public management wave from England, it's not the way we thought many years now.
Yes.
But we're going maybe back to old Chicago social school of sociology, to community work. London 1850, 1880, there was a community work, and I think somehow we have to go back and see what's the gain over there.
Right. The wisdom of the village.
Yeah,
and,
to some extent.
you know, being able to find opportunities. Does this put more responsibility into advocacy, into coordination of care, into maybe even policy than most therapists are ready for?
To some extent, yes. I mean, something that we've also talked about to some extent is that our work is mostly with the client, but to some extent also a bit activistic, right? We're talking about the fact that there's something is missing in the society, and instead of only trying to mold people into being able to fit into that, the framework that society has put up, we should to some extent say, well, maybe there's something wrong with society since these people don't fit. And of course, as I said, a lot of therapy works for a lot of people, but for some people it's insufficient, and we need to figure out, okay, we can try and mold them to go back in society, or we can create a framework for them to actually thrive and develop over longer periods of time. And then if they want to go back into society, or what you would call it, into regular civil society, then there's great opportunity for that, but they are not pushed into trying to conform in other ways.
Yes.
One of the main places that we have done this is, for example, in addiction work, where community work is by no means a new concept, but trying to marry it with the therapeutics of the public is, well, not seen as much in Denmark. And it has the effect that a lot of these people have, of course, lost a lot of their social network when they try to get clean. So they need some sort of community to be a part of. And for those who are not willing to go into, let's say, things like AA and NA, it's a lot easier for us to say, well, the thing that you are missing, to learn from other people's mistakes, to see that there is a way out of this, to get hope, essentially. You don't have to go outside and hope you can find it. It's right next door. It's actually here. You meet them in the morning there.
Right.
You know, so marrying the two concepts of professional help and
it's integrated into our services.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a part of the setup that's available for you to step right into, and you can stay for as long as you need. You can stay for life.
Yeah. And then when you, of course, have a lot of experience, you can turn your former challenges into support for others, because then you can yourself become a volunteer, and you know, and so the wheel goes.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a managing point of view on this, and from a management point of view, it's economics. But from an economics point of view, it's quite efficient. Even if we say you do not have ever to leave the treatment, probably you would think, okay, well, it's not overcrowded, the treatment. No, the self-help and voluntary services were quite economically efficient. So we if we compare our services with other services, traditional therapy services, well, it's quite okay. It doesn't cost more. It's actually some time cost less. So from a public service view, it's an efficient way of looking on it.
Right.
Never to say goodbye.
Well, and the research on efficiency is almost always a matter of scale. What are you looking at? Because when you look at the people who return back and back and back, you know, that ends up being more efficient or inefficient. And then when you have the systemic perspective, that's almost always more efficient. And so I'm really glad that you're creating this or building it up.
Yeah, and it's not new. get
Right,
to
right.
Chicago, 1858. No, 1888. They started that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's trying to marry it with the Danish context
Right.
of the extremely professionalized, specialized
Yes.
therapeutic ways. See if we can mix them together. Yeah.
Well, then it's kind of wonderful that there's even three of you here, because you're breaking the mold, even by having many minds work on the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. Something fun. So you live in Denmark. You're here in Spain. Tell me something. What's your favorite place in Europe to go to?
A favorite place in Europe.
I very much enjoy Rome.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's very much because of the architecture and the history there, and it's incredible walking in these narrow streets and then turning to a right and there's a giant church just out of nowhere. I think it's a very entertaining place to be. I very much enjoy Rome.
Iceland. When you fly back,
Yeah.
just make a stop on the way to the States in Iceland. It's funny place. That's a strong place.
Mm-hmm.
So just make a stop there.
Yes. Very engaging for
Yeah.
sure.
I would say Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. I went last year with my little daughter. We went road tripping for 3 weeks. It was an amazing
wow.
experience out into the woods and really just peace and quiet. It's the most beautiful nature. So.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being here at the conference and
Sure.
presenting and sharing your ideas. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.